Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm taking over. I'm the captain of the ship right now. Peacock has double duty. He is on with our guy Bukowski. Peter Bukowski. So Peacock will be here very shortly. But I thought I'd just kind of get people flowing in, have a nice little open conversation with all my people, all the Niner gang. Big win for the 49ers. Was it 24-9? I saw some things that nothing I was. How can I put this? I think I'm gonna wait. I think I'm gonna wait for Peacock, but not to be all like doom and gloom or anything like that. Obviously, that was an excellent game by the 49ers. Excellent job by the defense. I mean, goodness gracious. Had a couple opportunities to have 2 more interceptions, but I'm not going to complain about watching Hufanga trotting to the end zone. That was awesome. That was awesome. Shout out to Talanoa Hufanga. There are some people that, it's like, is he the best safety in the NFL? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but pertaining to the 49ers defense, pertaining to Hufanga, the one thing I wanted to see was, can they do it against a more elite, I guess you could say, elite offense? And they did the damn thing. 3 red zone opportunities for the Rams, 0 touchdowns. That was huge. That was huge. I still got a bone to pick with Kyle Shanahan. And we're going to get to that, but again, I mean, first and foremost, the 49ers won. First and foremost, the 49ers are the number 1 seed in the NFC West. Should I say number 1 seed? They're in the top spot. They're in the top spot in the NFC West. Let me turn my hat around, man. I'm saying it's real Niner game going on right now. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Y'all fire off some questions. Again, Peacock will be in here shortly. Then we will officially start the show. But I definitely want to come in here and just kind of talk my stuff a little bit, get it going. 24-9. Let's go. Kittle being wasted away. Yeah, listen. I got a bone to pick with them, man. They cost me a little bit of money. I did good in Underdog Fantasy today, but I was 2 George Kittle receptions away from cleaning the house. I did three little Underdog Fantasy parlays, and I needed 2 more catches from Kittle. I ain't get it. I did not get it. I ain't get it. So, but I did hit on another one. So I still came up like one, because the one Ayuk push. So I came up like 120 on a day. You know what I'm saying? Nice little solid night. You feel me? Nice little solid night on the Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Crocky. This isn't officially the start of the show, so I can talk about Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky, if y'all into player props, all that good stuff. Wait, no, this is a Prize Picks show, so disregard anything I've said to this point. Man, Croc, a win is a win. You know what? A win is a win until it's not a win, and that's how I look at it. Everything that the 49ers do, and I get in the moment, right? But I just try to look for trends. I look for trends, right? In the way you go about things, right? Like, I mean, that could be anything. That could be Will Thomas. That could be you, right? And some of the decisions that you've made, and you can see and point to a time where it's like, man, I made the decision and it worked this time, but there's like 5 other times where big moments where you made the same decision. It's like, damn, I missed on all those. And it comes back to kind of that decision as to like, why you think the way that you do and what are the results? Are they consistent? So Kyle, he definitely has more of a conservative approach. And I think when you look at the 49ers, they definitely have won a lot of games. But the 49ers, the goal isn't obviously you want to win as many games now, right? But that's not the end all be all, right? Like the win in, is October now? I don't even know what month it is, man. I just be grinding, you feel me? But October 3rd. So the win in October, like, yeah, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's great. Great win. But the 49ers right now, and I think everybody in here will tell you, the goal is Super Bowl, right? The goal is Super Bowl. And I just look at, I want the same thing you want, Will. I want the same thing you want. And I look at certain decisions that I feel like are starting to be kind of a trend. And we could point to this game where it worked. Defense came through. But there's 2 other games where I saw a conservative approach and you lost, right? The Bears and the Broncos. There were a couple of conservative approaches in there. So again, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm just saying I see something here. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth with it. But overall, I mean, come on, man. I can't complain. 49ers played a terrific game defensively. That was, masterful. Shout out D'Amico Ryans. Dude's amazing. Jimmy Garoppolo made the throws that he needed to make, right? The run game did what they needed to do. Defense did what they did. All work. Special teams, you had to miss field goal. But for the most part, special teams doing what they need to do. You know what I'm saying? So it was a good game. Great game. You win a divisional game against divisional game against the Rams, bro. Like, that's big. That's big. So I don't want anybody to take what I'm going to say about just the conservative mindset, which I think that's a big deal. But overall, most important thing right now is you got the dub. You're 2-2. You're right back at the top of the NFC West. And you got two very winnable games coming up. The Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, in what order, whatever it is. It might be the Panthers first and the Falcons. I have a feeling, because Baker Mayfield's going to get the start. We'll see if he even finishes that game. I think 49ers are going to get after his ass. They're going to get after his ass. That front. Woo. Yes, sir. So if you just kind of filtering in here right now, we're waiting on Peacock. Peacock is live with our guy, Peter Bukowski. And once he gets in here, we will officially start this show. Yes. Oh, my God, Mike Shields. He says, don't disrespect Warner. His coverage skill is still elite. Yeah, he dropped the ball. That would have probably been to the crib, too. But overall, man, I thought he did a terrific job, man, in the middle. There was one play, right, and I like to kind of get into my nerdy stuff. You could see that he was matching on 3 vert, right, in the red zone. And the one thing I like about him doing that, and first of all, they ask a lot of him as that middle guy to do that. And it's not just in the red zone. They ask him to do that in the open field as well. But he's matching on 3 vert. And you could see he kind of throttles down near the goal line. Well, why? Because a lot of routes and the ball being thrown happens right around the goal line. So whether Cooper Kupp was going to go vert, expect the back shoulder so you lean into him. I thought Warner did a good job of that. But he was prepared and ready to stop. He anticipated the stop route at the goal line and broke up the ball. I thought that was a tremendous play by Fred Warner. Tremendous play. Shout out to Huff. And for a while, I was like, is Matthew Stafford going to catch him? But clearly Matthew Stafford, he ain't won that. Ran off on Stafford. Right? So, yeah, he showed off that, it was 4-6-ish. It's hard to tell when you're running against Matthew Stafford, but yeah, he got off on him. Touchdown, pick 6, let's go. I mean, can we just talk about the anticipation on breaking up that? Now, here's what's going to happen. All right, here's what's going to happen. Another team, they're going to try to hit him on a screen and go, oh, Hufanga, he's aggressive. So we're going to show it to him, and they'll show it to him. They'll show that screen just so he gets a nice little, all right, remember this? Yeah. Then they're going to hit him with the screen and go. So we'll see how he prepares. Shout out to my 209ers in the house. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Stockton in the house. Let's go. Real 209. Hey, the other day, and again, if you guys just filtered in here, I'm just filling time right now. Brian Peacock, he will be with us shortly. I know you can't find Peacock on Twitter anymore, but he'll be here shortly in just a few minutes. All right. But I always talk about 209 and like real 209. And I was like, man, shout out to Aaron Judge. Because, Aaron Judge, he's from the 209. But the crazy thing about Aaron Judge being from the 209, he's from Linden, which literally is like, it's up like right outside the east side of Stockton. So you go towards like Franklin, and then like Linden's like a couple minutes away from there, right? And I promise you, I could not tell you. First of all, I know it's near Edison. That's all I know. I mean, not Edison, excuse me, Franklin. Was I saying Edison? I meant Franklin. I know that Linden is near Franklin, but I could not tell you how to get there. If you just was like, all right, Croc, here's a map of Stockton. Where's Linden at? I wouldn't even know. So all I know is that it's right outside of Stockton, literally a little town right next to Stockton. It's literally 2 minutes away, and I know Aaron Judge is from there. So that ain't the real 209. Only real 209 is Stockton. You feel me? Here we go. He says, yeah, 10 minutes away from Franklin. So I know it's right out there, right, or near the east side or something like that, but I couldn't tell you how to get there, what road to take to get to Linden, none of that. I just know this big-ass dude named Aaron Judge grew up there. Can you explain the missed OB TD to Kittle when Ayuk was open? Did DB jump Ayuk's route? You know, I saw somebody tweet that out. They were like, man, Ayuk was open. I don't know where I typically on missed reads, I don't even want to call it like a missed read. I'll say typically when let's say Jimmy Garoppolo misses a guy, he just doesn't see a guy that's wide open. I don't know what his reads are and his progressions. So maybe he was eyeing, while Ayuk was breaking open, maybe he's eyeing Kittle. And then the play kind of, develops into where it's like, all right, I'm just going to throw it to him on his back line, which he actually made a great throw. Kittle just couldn't get both feet in bounds, but he gave him an opportunity. But progressions typically work from one side of the field to the other, or they're reading one guy, right? So I think a lot of people assume that, this quarterback, he's staring down this receiver. Look, he's looking at this receiver the whole time. Like, nah, man, like he might be reading a concept, right? So a lot of these offenses, and I learned this from my guy Greg Pinelli, they run kind of a triangle type offense where you have a couple guys in this area and you're reading a defender, and the defender is probably going to tell you where to throw. So you can pop up and look in that direction. A lot of times it's like, well, I'm reading this guy, and if he does this, then I throw here. If he does this, then I throw here. You know what I'm saying? But if you're reading it like that, you're probably not going to get to your backside, which might have been where Ayuk was. That's just my thoughts on that. All right, we're still filling time here. Shout out to all 200 of y'all in the chat. Man, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, Eric Crocker, filling time until Peacock shows up. Yeah. Oh, okay, we got him. He's in the house. All right, there. Hold on, gotta whoop. There we go. All right.
Yeah, there we go. We got this live rocking already. Over 200 people in the room. Fantastic.
Peacock, I think the people miss you on Twitter, man.
I kind of missed the people on Twitter. I was kind of glad the first week, because that was the week that it was basically the day before Trey Lance got hurt is when my account went down. And that was probably a good week not to be on Twitter. But now I'm kind of missing the folks. And I would like to be back on Twitter. But Twitter support doesn't want to give me my account back. So I don't know if I'll ever be back. We'll see how that goes.
F Twitter support, man.
Rick says, Peacock looks like he just shotgunned a Celebration beer. I didn't shotgun it, but you know what I'm drinking right now, which is pretty fantastic, is the Candlestick
Chronicles
beer from Cooperage. I joined Chris Biederman and Kyle Madsen. Tracy Sandler was there at Cooperage Brewery in Santa Rosa a couple weeks ago, and we had this really cool event. It was super fun. So shout out to those guys. And I love myself a hazy. So the beer is fantastic. So I'm not shotgunning it, but I'm about halfway down a tall can of Candlestick Hazy Chronicles, 6.2% alcohol. I would never shotgun a beer before the podcast. I got to have my wits about me to be able to hang with Croc and all the listeners on a show like this.
Yeah, man, we was in here chilling. Shout out to everybody in there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, run this up. 300, 400 people in here. A huge win. And I was kind of alluding to a certain decision that Kyle made. So I can't wait to get to that on the show.
Okay, well, let's get into the official.
Not to be the bearer of bad news, but there was just something where I'm like, I'm seeing a trend here.
Okay.
I'm seeing the trend.
All right, well, we'll find out Croc's critique of Kyle Shanahan in this victory for the 49ers. Let's get into the Real for Real podcast here and get this thing rolling right about now. A rapid react episode after week 4, a huge win for the San Francisco 49ers in week 4, now improving to 2-2 on the season with a 24-9 win over the Los Angeles Rams, the key plays, the takeaways, and of course, we'll give out some game balls in this huge victory coming up right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A fantastic win, a huge win for the San Francisco 49ers over the Los Angeles Rams. Gloomy says the Rams are overrated. Maybe they are overrated, or maybe the 49ers, when they're playing right, when the offense helps out the defense, Croc, and maybe the best defense in the NFL, I dare say, when the offense just does what they need to do and moves the ball, puts up a few points, this team's kind of scary. And we finally saw some good Jimmy this year after some really bad Jimmy in his first start last week in week number 3, which is a huge sigh of relief for probably Kyle Shanahan, for probably Jimmy himself, and I'm sure the entire San Francisco 49ers fan base.
Yeah, I mean, good stuff there. You started off with a boom on the ground with Jeff Wilson, and I thought for a lot of the game, it was a little stagnant on the ground, and we saw that last week, right, where Jeff Wilson had a big run. Then outside of that, it was like, man, 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards. And that was kind of the trend again, but the 49ers didn't go away from that. They understood what the assignment was, keep the ball away from the Matthew Stafford-led Rams and kind of limit their touches. So I thought the 49ers did a really good job of that.
Why is everybody worried about me right now? Is I'm not wearing a hat? Is that what's going on? It seems like I haven't slept in days. Hollow Man says, I don't sleep well in general. And yes, this morning I was woken up by the garbage man at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get back to sleep. So I haven't been sleeping a lot, but I kind of don't sleep a lot. So that's sort of par for the course with me. How hilarious was it how quickly Daniel Brunskill entered the game for the 49ers, Croc? That was my first takeaway in this game, because Daniel Brunskill, after I think it was the first series, and Aaron Donald was wrecking Spencer Burford, and they were like, nope, seen enough of that. They instantly plugged in Daniel Brunskill, and we didn't see a lot of 99 for a while. And then Burford got back in the game. I don't know if Brunskill got hurt again. Do you have any information on that? I didn't see any reports about Brunskill getting hurt, or did they just kind of rotate him in there? But I know Burford was back in at right guard. So was it just a rotation? Did they just want to give the rookie a little breather and say, hey, I know this is a tough matchup for you. Let's watch for a minute and then get your chance one more time?
I think there was some kind of rotation going there. And, the tough thing, especially with coaches, they'll take kind of the physical mistakes, right? You're not going to get too much of those from Burford. But one thing that the coaches do despise is the mental mistakes. They hate the mental mistakes. And I think, one of those plays early on, one of Jimmy's first, or actually his first incompletion, was kind of a busted. We usually see busted coverages by the defense, but there was a blown assignment by Burford where you see him just go to the left, look like maybe he thought he was supposed to help, and Aaron Donald said, okay, I'll beeline right to the quarterback. So not ideal if you're Jimmy Garoppolo trying to throw with Aaron Donald in your face right away early in the game, but I think that was kind of the issue early on, and they're like, all right, Burford, let's take you out, settle down, understand what we need you to do here, and then we'll get you back in there. So they did that back and forth a little bit. I know when I saw Brunskill come in, the first thing I thought of was Undertaker. Yeah. I thought I was going to see Brian Peacock appear on the field with the urn, like, see Brian Peacock with the urn, and then all of a sudden Brunskill comes out of a casket to go get on the field and play against Aaron Donald.
Will says Brunskill did get hurt again. So I don't know if it was that hamstring injury or not. And Niners getting pretty thin at left tackle too, because Colton McKivitz, who was the replacement already, and he was banged up in camp, and he was the replacement for Trent Williams. He goes down, and so it was back to Jalen Moore at left tackle after that. So that's something the 49ers need to worry about a little bit. By the way, Greg Pinelli, the swag god, taught everything Eric Crocker knows about his drip, says I'm looking solid, so I'm feeling good about that. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the good looking at you.
Shout out to that's my dog right there.
You're going to be talking with Greg Pinelli a little bit later this week, right? About the 49ers
tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow evening we'll be on live.
Check out Crocker.
Break down some of these throws, some of the reads, some of the things he's not seeing, and kind of what goes into that.
How about this one from Jason? Lenore shut down Kupp solo several times. We came in not knowing if we had a nickel back and found two. The defense is deep.
Yeah, it was really good to see him and how he was challenging himself. It is really tough to kind of just defend Cooper Kupp because, one, they are throwing to him. And he plays in a slot. So it's not like it's just super simple to bracket him if you maybe shade your nickel back outside of them, and then you have a linebacker playing inside, then it kind of takes your eyes away from the middle of the field. So just in general, with how they use Cooper Kupp is tough. And then the rapport between Kupp and Matthew Stafford makes it even more difficult. But even with saying that, he had 14 catches on the night. I thought the 49ers did a tremendous job. That might have been the quietest 14 catches. Quiet in the sense of didn't make a lot of noise. You didn't see the downfield throws. You didn't see the big plays downfield. Matter of fact, if I heard correctly at the end of the stream, the Rams did not have a play over 20 yards all game. So a lot of that comes to kind of corralling Cooper Kupp. And they did a tremendous job of anytime at the catch point, boom, there was a body there. They had to throw some screens, and he was able to get some yak a little bit that way. But overall, I mean, he probably averaged 8 yards per reception. I think that's tremendous if you are the 49ers.
Dude, the chat. People keep saying weird stuff about me in the chat. I don't know what's going on. Like,
don't look at the chat.
I'm just not wearing a hat. That's it. I actually even got a haircut earlier today. Maybe that's it. People aren't even used to seeing me with no hat on and seeing my hair popping out a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, the 49ers offensive line gave up no sacks. That was huge. Like, the Niners offense just needs to be okay. Like, imagine how good the 49ers could be with the way their defense is playing if they were dropping bombs all over the place and making huge plays offensively. They don't even have to do that. They just have to play some solid football, get some first downs, find some Robbie Gold kicks through the goalposts, find the end zone a couple times. The defense is going to do the rest, holding the Rams under 10 points. I mean, they've done it all year. The 49ers.
I think that's dangerous, though, Peacock.
I mean, you can win a ton of football games, and the 49ers have proven it. They got to a Super Bowl doing that. They got through to the NFC Championship game last year doing that. You would like more. You would like a plus offense, but it doesn't even have to be a plus offense. I think this year's defense is better than last year's defense.
Well, yeah, when you have cornerbacks that are breaking up vertically pushing passes, and you can say, you know what, I'm going to leave you on the outside on an island with Allen Robinson, and he's not going to do anything. Matter of fact, he's going to get 2 catches for 7 yards. I thought that was tremendous, and that showed the confidence that they have in both Emmanuel Mosley and Trevarius Ward.
Okay, we've got to talk a little bit more about some more big plays in this game and some key players. Of course, give out some game balls from the 49ers 24-9 win over those Los Angeles Rams in week 4. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day, and I started taking AG1 because I didn't want to drink as much coffee and have as much caffeine in my life. Plus, I needed some vitamins, and clearly after about 3 days of taking AG1, and all it is super easy, is one fantastic tasting glass of water with 1 scoop of AG1 in it, and I started feeling great after a couple of days. It was amazing. And you don't have to worry about taking multiple pills, multivitamins, all this stuff. It's 1 glass of water with 1 scoop of AG1 the first thing every day, and that is it. And so what is this stuff? Well, with 1 delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Pretty much all the things are covered by AG1. And I felt it after a couple of days. It was pretty amazing. More energy. Didn't need that coffee in the morning. In fact, it gave me more energy than coffee because I was getting all of those quality vitamins and probiotics and things that were actually helping my body rather than helping it limp along like a crutch. And you can use AG1 no matter what your lifestyle is. Super lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. And that's one of the keys, too, when you're talking about gut health. And some folks can't do dairy, you can't do yogurt or whatever else you might want to do to help your gut and to help with probiotics. Well, here you go. Here's your option now with AG1, and it costs less than a cup of coffee every day. It has less than 1 gram of sugar, so you're not getting a whole bunch of extra stuff. You're not getting any nasty chemicals, no GMOs, no artificial, pretty much anything, while still tasting good and supporting everything you need to help you sleep better and get energy and all the vitamins you need on a daily basis. And to make it all easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Thanks again, everybody, for making Locked On 49ers your first listen every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out the NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On's local experts giving you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL weekend, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts, BetOnline. Follow NFL Key Predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. What do you think? Jordan Mason. Do the 49ers need to get Jordan Mason involved? I thought he'd get a couple of touches. He's like, I don't know why they don't want to hand him the football. I guess they're not really giving Jeff Wilson such a heavy load that he can't handle it. And we've talked about this all offseason. It was like, is it going to be, Ty Davis Price? Is it going to be the 1A, 1B with Elijah Mitchell? And it's like, Kyle Shanahan is a bell cow guy. He has his starting back. And if you're available and you're healthy, you're in the game and you're running the ball. And that's kind of how he treats him. And Jeff Wilson hasn't gotten a huge load, a carry load in really any game this season. Last week, I think he had 12 carries. This week, he had 18 carries. Maybe if you'd have started to get a little bit heavier, they might have given a series to Jordan Mason or a play or two. But I loved seeing the explosion on that touchdown run from Jeff Wilson. Aside from that, not a ton going on the ground. They ended up averaging 4 yards per carry. I would like to see a little bit of Jordan Mason, mostly because I'm just curious and interested. But in this game, they didn't need him. Jeff Wilson, and I apologize to Jeff Wilson because I don't think I gave him credit for some of the bursts that he still possesses. And he showed it on that run. He's always run really hard, but he had a little giddy up going on that run. So I love seeing that from Jeff Wilson, even though he didn't get much else going for pretty much the rest of the day.
Yeah, he has this nice initial acceleration. Now, he doesn't quite have like the long speed. That's why this was probably the longest run of his career. But he can get out of there right now. And you saw that on that play. It is weird with the running back usage, right? Because you talked about Kyle Shanahan leaning on more of a bell cow type thing. And we saw that with Elijah Mitchell. It was like Elijah Mitchell, if he's able to carry the ball, he's getting 27 carries, et cetera, not getting a whole lot of touches to anyone else. The 49ers have 4 running backs active tonight, not including Deebo Samuel, who's that, wide back. So he's kind of like the 5th guy, right? But you had, obviously, Jeff Wilson Jr. You had Jordan Mason. You also, who I saw on special teams, had Marlon Mack. He was active. He was out there. And then I saw Tevin Coleman run on the field one time on offense, but clearly not to for them to hand the ball off to him. But you have 4 guys, and none of them got carried. Matter of fact, I would assume that the 49ers would want to run the ball more than 22 times. And I saw a stat earlier in today where when the 49ers run the ball more than they throw it with Jimmy Garoppolo, they are far more successful. But in this game, Jimmy said, forget all that. And 27 attempts, only 22 carries, and that's including Jimmy Garoppolo.
Josh says the defense could have had 3 to 4 interceptions. Yeah, I mean, we had the pick 6 for Talanoa Hufanga. Fred Warner could have definitely had a pick 6, and I think he had his eyes on the end zone when he dropped one. There could have been some others as well, but 2 turnovers was good. You had the
Gibson dropped one in the end zone. It just hit him in the chest.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he dropped one. So that was one of our keys. When Matthew Stafford throws the 49ers defense the ball, and he will take advantage of those opportunities. Would the game been different if Talanoa Hufanga didn't have the pick 6? What if that becomes a touchdown drive the other way? So that was huge that Hufanga made good on one because the 49ers dropped too many. Like, you got to take when the other team throws you the ball, you got to catch those. The interceptions, those kind of turnovers are massive.
I think that, we know, right? Matthew Stafford, he will throw you something. He's done that in every single game the 49ers have played against him while being on the Rams. He's going to give you several opportunities. And our thing was you got to take advantage of at least 2 of them, right? And they took advantage of one. And then obviously at the end of the game, they had the sack strip or however they scored that. But, he ended up fumbling. I don't want to be Debbie Downer at all. Like, I am happy with the 49ers win. I think that's awesome. I did tweet out, thank you, Talanoa Hufanga, for saving Kyle Shanahan. And listen, awesome, you get the win, right? But can you depend, and maybe you can't, maybe you say, you know what, we're going to ride and die with our defense. we are not going to be aggressive at all from an offensive standpoint. And as good as today was for everybody, right? Like the offense still only scored 17 points. That is far below the average that you want to have. Like when the 49ers are clicking, they're scoring 27 points on offense. They scored 17 today and then got another touchdown from the defense. So that's great that the defense played as great as they did. But Kyle, once again, put the ball in the hands of the defense. And we saw him do that against Chicago, right? So for everybody who's like, oh, crap, it's not that big of a deal. You're making too big of a deal. We saw it against Chicago where Trey Lance had a big third down run, picked up 9 yards. It's 4th and 1 from midfield. He decides to punt it, and next thing you know, Bears drive down. They actually score a touchdown on that drive. We watched him be a little bit more conservative with his mindset with some things in the Broncos game, where it's like, man, we have some opportunities to be aggressive. Oh no, you know what? I'm not gonna lean on my defense. We're actually just gonna deny the penalty. He did not accept the penalty. They kicked the field goal. That ended up being kind of a big play because he was like, no, we're not gonna back them up 10 yards and give them another shot at it. So I think there's this kind of conservative mindset that I continue to see kick in. And when it works like it did tonight, in the sense of your defense coming through for you, it's awesome. But to me, I'm not thinking about just this one game, right? I'm thinking about as a whole. And one thing, when you look at some of these guys who have finally won something, right? You look at how some of these guys, the Kansas City Chiefs, and how aggressive they are. Maybe you can say, oh, they're aggressive because they got Patrick Mahomes, whatever. But I think it's a mindset because I saw them be aggressive when they had Chad Henne at quarterback in the playoffs, midfield. The other team can, if they stop you right there, dude, they're probably going to score. They're at midfield. He said, we're not giving them the ball back. We're going to go for it with Chad Henne. And he'll make a play. He's aggressive, and that's why I think he continues to have the kind of success that we've seen, and ultimately, eventually win the Super Bowl. And I think once Kyle Shanahan starts to be a little bit more aggressive from that standpoint, I think we'll start to see him win because he's going to be like that whether it's he trusts his offense or not. Like that's what we've seen. He's just a little more conservative, and to me, I just look at that as a whole as one thing where I'm like, look, the game was great. I'm just look, y'all tune in here to hear a different type of analysis, a different type of viewpoint. And my different viewpoint is, I thought that was an opportunity to put your nuts on the table, but he played it to the defense, and they came through for him. That's great, but I don't like leaving it up to your defense every single time. You got to put some on the offense.
The Newt says, facts. Kyle has crazy trust issues, but yeah, I don't think it's trust. I think he's just conservative by nature. And it's funny because during the telecast, Kyle decides not to go for it. And Joe Buck says, the analytics say it's the better play is to go for it here. And then what does the guy who was an ex-player, right, in the booth, what does he say? Classic football guy take. You go up 8 here. I agree with Kyle. It's that's the conservative approach. That's the football guy approach. So it's I understand where the analytics might say, no, you have a better chance to win percentage wise, but the old school football guys just are never going to agree with that. And that doesn't make him right, but Kyle is just that guy. And I don't think that's ever going to leave him. And I don't think it's a trust issue at all. And I don't think it's necessarily the right call by Kyle either. And I think Kyle is pretty bad at playing the percentages. I said this before as more of a response to the whole Trey Lance injury thing that, Kyle, I would love to play poker against Kyle because I think he is too conservative in a lot of ways. And I don't think he plays the percentages well. And in the long run, I think he's losing because of that. But in one, I would love to see what the exact numbers were. Is it like 52 to 48% with the analytics saying you should go for it on those? Because I understand the idea of go up 8 points, kick the field goal. That mindset and that idea makes sense. But Kyle himself even admitted a couple of weeks ago when he was asked in the press conference, who's giving him that information with the analytics and the percentages on those decisions in games. And he said who it was and said, this guy's like a computer and he gives me all the information every time I need it. And they're like, oh, so do you always agree with him? He's like, no, I go against him all the time. So it's classic Kyle. Like he's just going to go with what his gut is. And his gut is always going to be conservative. That's just how he's wired.
The thing is, though, he's only conservative when he feels like things are a little tight. Like I've seen him be very aggressive when he feels like he's in more control, right? So example here. And again, guys, this is not Debbie Downer part of the episode. I think Kyle, they coached extremely well. Offense did just enough. Defense was amazing. 49ers won. Huge game. That is awesome. So I'm not taking anything away from that. But last year, 49ers played Jacksonville Jaguars. They're on the goal line. They had a 20-play drive. And they got to like the 2-yard line. And what did they do? They elected to kick a field goal on a 20-play drive to start the game. I thought that was wild. But when they got up like 2 scores or whatever, they got back into that same situation. What did they do this time? Go for it. And they ended up scoring. I saw that again later, a couple games later, or whenever they played the LA Rams, right? LA Rams, they had an opportunity before halftime to call a timeout. You get the ball back. You have an opportunity to go and score offensively. You be aggressive. He let the time run out, right? So that just showed like, man, like, and I was like, man, does he feel like, Jimmy's not the guy for that? Like, you could have had like more than a minute to drive down, but maybe things are a little too tight for him. Later in the game, it's like 4th and 7, but he's up 2 scores. So what does he do? He goes for it. And Jimmy Garoppolo throws a touchdown. So I've seen him be much more aggressive when he feels like, you know what, I'm a little loose. All right, let's go for it. But when it's tight and he needs to make that type of decision, kind of shells away from it a little bit.
Jason in the chat agrees with you, Croc. He says trade Kyle and promote D'Amico.
I ain't saying
Calling
that.
for Kyle's job over here, Croc.
Because I don't know why Kyle is as it could be as simple as like I know my quarterback and okay, we got a great defense. But even then, I just feel like that's a tough way to, because again, the 49ers, the Rams were down 8 points driving with a chance, and you needed Hufanga to save the day for you. And it was great. It was great play. The defense played magnificent. But even then, throughout all that, and I felt like throughout the entire game, the 49ers were in control of this game. And still, in the fourth quarter, wow, the Rams have a chance to tie the game on a drive? How is that even possible?
49ers fan 86 says, my wife walked in and was like, so that's the man I always hear talking about the Niners. She recognized Croc's voice and finally saw him on my TV. There we go. I love that.
Tell the wife I said hello.
Hearing that. You know, it's funny though, Croc, about the conservative nature of Kyle Shanahan. We've seen it the other way with coaches. And if you're aggressive and you don't get it, you're even second guessed more. And we've seen that with Brandon Staley with the Chargers. And he's going with the analytics every time. And he missed some. And he's getting crushed. People are like calling for his job. It's safer. It is safer. It's not just conservative for the actual game. It actually might help you lose the game. But it helps you keep your job, I think, in a lot of ways.
When you talk about Brandon Staley, though, I mean, that's an extreme scenario, right? Because we're talking about a guy who he's in his own territory going for it on 4th and 2 from his own 25-yard line. I wouldn't suggest do that, right? And he's done things like that to put his defense in bad situations. But let's take, for instance, the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. And I actually said kick it in those conditions and whatnot, but they're down. At that point, it's tie game. It's 2020. You're on your own 3-yard, or you're on your opposing team's 3-yard line with like not much time left. At that point, like, all right, you kick the field goal, you go up 3, and you play defense. I get it. I get that. But there has been a time where I remember watching Baltimore. They're at midfield. Game is kind of on the line. You're up like 3 points. You're playing against Kansas City Chiefs. And he said, I'm not giving them the ball back. We're going for it on 4th and 2 from midfield. Matter of fact, he asked Lamar Jackson, Lamar, what do you want to do? He said, let's go for it. They went for it. They got it. Ended the game. So I like the aggressive mindset. I would have kicked it yesterday. Just because of the situation there, you're playing, the weather's bad or whatever, kick the field goal, go up 3, play defense. But Kyle, you have an opportunity to put your foot on some guy's neck, and I don't think he does that.
All right, we got to give out some game balls, Croc, in this huge Monday Night Football victory for those San Francisco 49ers next. But first, if you wanted to maybe get excited about the 49ers, put a little bit more money back on them to win the Super Bowl, you can do so at betonline.net, your number one source for everything football betting and information this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, in-depth articles, and analysis on every game you can find. I already saw the week 5 lines that are out. In fact, there's lines all the way through the end of the season. Weekly NFL lines, tons of props, season-long things that you could bet on with the San Francisco 49ers and every team in the league. Which coach will get fired? Coach of the year. Who will lead the league in sacks, individual performances as well. So as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all things sports wagering with the NFL and information and live betting on every sport out there, not just football, Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, NBA, starting up, you name it. They've got it at BetOnline, even some Vegas casino games as well. So get to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, Croc, game ball number 1. I'm going to let you start this thing off. Can you narrow down somebody on the defensive side of the ball, or do we just want to go DeMeco Ryans?
I think it's easy to say DeMeco Ryans. I think that's a cop-out, man. We gotta analyze it. We gotta dig a little deeper. All right,
How about
and
how about we give one to DeMeco, but we also give one to some individuals, because this
let's go.
performance was deserving of multiple game balls on that side of the ball.
All right, so I know everybody wants to go Hufanga, and Hufanga will get his. But first and foremost, I have to give it to Fred Warner. I watched Fred Warner from the first play. He set the tone right away. Aggressive tackling, running sideline to sideline. We watched what he was asked to do, play in space, have to run vert with number 3, which happened to be Cooper Kupp on the goal line. Didn't drift upfield, sat down on the route, broke it up. I thought Fred Warner had a tremendous game. PFF might think different. I don't know. They just scored a certain way. But he was all over the place. And again, I think he's the tone setter. He's talking trash. He's in his guy's face. That started from the first snap and didn't end until really that last snap. And even then, the linebackers were still in guys' faces. I love it.
I'll go ahead and give Talanoa Hufanga a game ball here, and I love watching Hufanga play. And whatever we were worried about with him in coverage, he's so instinctive. He anticipates so well that whatever step slow he might be with his 4.6 40 or whatever, he makes up for it with his mind. And that is so awesome. It's so fun to watch. The timing he has on blitzes, the way he breaks on balls against ball carriers, against the run, as we saw against the pass tonight. Like, it's instant. It's like boom. Yeah. And a lot of guys wouldn't make that play. Like, that plays on Hufanga for recognizing it, seeing the play in front of him, making the break on the ball. Like, that's all him. I love seeing that. So Hufanga game ball, as 49ers fan 86 says. But also a question here for you, Croc. What do you think Hufanga's ceiling is?
You know, it's tough because we did talk about being a step slow, and I think that kind of lowers your ceiling when you're not a guy that, you know, runs a 4.3 and you can close on things a little different. But that hasn't mattered, right? I mean, he plays a step ahead mentally. That was one of the things that we diagnosed coming out, right? It was like, all right, we know he's a step slow, man. If he's a step slow, he has to be a step faster from the processing what he's seeing. I think he's doing a tremendous job of doing that. He always seems to be around the ball. He always seems to be kind of in the right place. You know, I see somebody in the chat says, Croc, one and cross, stop the cap. I ain't lie about one. Matter of fact, I mean, we just talked about one and cross, well, a couple weeks ago, right? We talked about wanting him, or at least up until the season started.
I'd still take him with that 3rd round pick. We weren't wrong about that. Like, you could still add more talent to that position going forward.
Right. So yeah, cross. Awesome, high upside, etc. But what Hufanga is doing is clearly special. Mm-hmm. And he showed why the 49ers were reluctant to add a safety. It was like, nah, we got a guy here. We got Hufanga. Those are things that we weren't able to see. They didn't give us a hint of that with how they played him last year. So it wasn't like they just put him out there and it's like, hey, you guys have seen him, and this is why we're passing on the safety. So awesome job. The ceiling, again, when you think from an athletic standpoint, it seems like it could be a little lower, but man, mentally he's a step ahead, so it's got to be high.
Absolutely. I love it. And that's usually what the ceiling is for an NFL player. When we're splitting hairs, like 4.6 is a fast human being too. And for a strong safety, and he plays more in the box than he does, you know, in the deep middle of the field and stuff like that. How you are built from the neck up is so much more important to what your football ceiling is in the NFL. Once you pass that barrier of, are you an NFL player or not, is so much more important than being a 4.3 guy. We've seen so many. We did this before the draft. Remember, we went through all the fastest DBs, all the fastest wide receivers in NFL draft history, basically. And most of them were bad football players. They were not, right? How smart are you? How hard you work? How instinctive you are? Those are the most important traits to play in football, and Hufanga has those in spades. How about, are you done with the defensive side of the ball, Croc?
I mean, Nick Bosa, we talk about some of the sacks I saw. I mean, he was coming off the edge. He forced the quarterback up in the pocket. I thought he was extremely active all game. But again, there are certain guys, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel. I feel like every game you can give them a game ball. So, I mean, I don't even know if we have to mention those two guys. But let's go to the cornerbacks because we talked about Mooney. We talked about Mosley and those guys kind of being on the island on the outside. Like Allen Robinson, 7 yards. Are you good? So they did a tremendous job there. Now, the next step, and the 49ers might not do it because of how they construct their defense. And Lenoir did a solid job, but at some point, do you just say, you know what, we're going to put our best cover guy on Cup, and you're just not going to get any separation. A guy that is just longer, taller, maybe has a little bit more foot speed, and can challenge a little bit more at the catch point than what we see from Lenoir when you face a Cooper Kupp. But overall, I mean, those outside guys, man, tremendous.
This is a question for another day, but Jungle Karma says, how much credit does John Lynch get for the mentality of this defense? I think it's pretty important because that was their mission statement from day one. Is we're going to build on the defense. We're going to start up front. And it's amazing what we've seen the scouting staff do in the 5th round and beyond. And it's like, dude, keep acquiring 5th round picks because they're so good finding the right players. They're finding guys like Hufanga and George Kittle in the 4th round. Or no, George Kittle was in the 5th round too. Yeah. And Dre Greenlaw. And they're just finding these guys. They're finding these guys that are wired correctly and they're good football players.
So I do think, obviously John Lynch and those guys, they have to do some vetting. But when it comes to those mid-round guys, I think you got to lean on your scouts a little bit more than even the guys like, John Lynch. Now, obviously, they pulled the trigger on it, but that's your scouting team, man. They're finding these gems, and they're standing on the table for these guys. And it's like, all right, if you want us to draft them, we'll draft them. And then they take those guys in mid rounds, and they've been really good with that. And again, I see somebody in the chat say, AKA Adam Peters. No, I'm talking about the guys that are on the road, traveling, going state to state, covering an entire region, writing up endless scouting reports on these guys, and taking that to the coaches, meeting with all their coaches, meeting with their the yard duty people, the security, whatever. They talk to anybody and everybody, and they write up everything about those players, and then they take it to Peters and those guys. But just finding those type of talented guys, man, that's the scouting department. They're doing a terrific job.
Yeah, and you can look at most of the bad picks the 49ers have made and like trading up for dudes that didn't deserve it is because the coaching staff and those are like the quote unquote Kyle's guys, and I think that's where they've screwed up when they get into day 3 and it's like, okay, scouts, let's go find some gems. That's when the 49ers have been at their best. So kudos to the entire scouting staff top to bottom for what the 49ers are doing with some of those day 3 picks for sure.
Yeah, listen, Emmanuel Mosley. I see a lot of people mention Emmanuel Mosley. Again, this is an undrafted guy. You think John Lynch is out there like, all right, let's sign this Emmanuel Mosley guy. Like, no, that's a scout that's like, look, this corner slipped through the cracks. He's an undrafted guy. I have a really high grade on him. We'll bring him in. I think this is a guy who I'm going to stand on the table for. His name's Emmanuel Mosley from Tennessee. And you bring those guys in, man, that's scouting department.
Niners corners are on fire this year, and they haven't even gotten Verrett back. There was a question earlier that said, what do you do with Verrett coming back? I don't really know, but Charvarius Ward is legit. I don't think he had a pass completed on him. I don't think he was really targeted much, making plays too when he was targeted. So the entire defense, you could give a game ball to anybody on that side of the ball. On the offense, you kind of wanted to not give him a game ball, but I think we got to give him one. That's Deebo Samuel making a play, like putting the team on his back. Crocker.
Oh, you gotta explain why I didn't want to give him a game ball. Because you just say that like that makes it seem like I don't want to give him a game ball. I just think it's too easy. We can do that every single game.
Yeah, there's a category for Bosa and Deebo that is like you could just kind of give them a game ball every single week, but that's okay. I don't mind giving them a game ball every week when they play well and they deserve it. Deebo, that play he made was so important to this football team. So if any game ball deserves to be given, I think it's probably Deebo. If you take one player off the field tonight, there's so many good players. The defense was playing so well. If you take one guy off the field, I think they'd have been all right. If you take Deebo out of the equation for the 49ers offense, how different does this game look? So Deebo for sure game ball.
Now, the offense, again, I talked about the 17 points that they scored. A big chunk of it on kind of 2 plays, right? Deebo Samuel making a lot of noise, and shout out to the blockers and everything, but there was a lot of Deebo there with breaking tackles, cutting across field, all that. And then you had the run by Jeff Wilson where he exploded. That was probably the longest run of his career. But outside of that, you didn't get a whole lot. So I still need to see that offense kind of take that next step, right? But there was one area where I felt like it was key that the 49ers improve on, and third down. So I'm going to give Jimmy Garoppolo a game ball, because right out the gates, I think he started off like 3 of 3 or whatever, where last week 49ers, led by Jimmy Garoppolo on offense, I mean, they started off, 0 for 8, 0 for 9? I think they converted on 1 of 10 third downs. That's not good. That falls on Kyle. That falls on the quarterback. Today, right off bat, they were much better than that.
Last one here. I want to go to Nees's comment. He says, Aaron Banks game ball. Everyone counted him out. Didn't see one issue. I've been impressed with Aaron Banks, and I was definitely worried about Aaron Banks coming in, and he's been not a problem, which is a huge compliment on my part. Like, that is important, that he's not been an issue for the 49ers offensive line. He's a little bit of a wall off blocker. I don't think he's given the 49ers necessarily extra, but he's been okay. And look, when it comes to the offensive line, it's a unit of 5 guys. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and Aaron Banks hasn't been the weakest link. He hasn't been a problem. So I've been, if you said, hey, you could have this version of Aaron Banks, or you could gamble that he's going to be even better, I would say, heck no. I would absolutely take what I'm seeing from Aaron Banks right now.
Yeah, Aaron Banks has played very well. The biggest thing is you don't want a guy to be the issue, right? Don't be the reason. And right now, Burford, he's been the reason a couple of times, but Aaron Banks, he's been very quiet. And I think when you're an offensive lineman, almost like being a cornerback, when they're not calling your name, that's a good thing.
All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in on the live chat. We will continue to talk 49ers all week long, all year long, as we do here on Locked On 49ers. We got a short week now getting ready for week 5, so it's already going to be time for a little Winky Wednesday action tomorrow. And, of course, we will be here with you for that. Make sure you tune into everything else that the network has to offer for your second listen, by the way. The Peacock and Williamson NFL show, Locked On NFL Draft, featuring Eric Crocker. And, of course, thanks for making us your first listen here on Locked On 49ers. Be back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.